It was speaking on the term of super fans, and just creating like a very strong core community is more important for longevity for an artist than having, millions of fans for one or two songs kind of thing. And so we really we built a family around Sleeveless, my record label.
Killa Kela Podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com. 101.4 FM, 24 hours a day, all genres.
FlexFM.co.uk.
THTC, the UK's leading ethical streetwear label. Organically grown and ethically built garments from hemp, organic cotton, and other sustainable materials. 2019 is their 20th anniversary year. Join me with THTC as a Killa Kela podcast sponsor celebrating music, social activism, hemp, and street culture. THTC, eco-fashion redefined since 1999.
Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela Podcast.
Big shout out to Graffiti Kings, alright? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Killa Kela Podcast, reporting to you on a rooftop downtown with my homie, the mighty Stylust inside the place.
What's good?
How are you?
Doing? Oh, good, brother.
Good to see you.
Blessed to be here. Thanks for having me on. Welcome to LA.
Welcome to LA, thank
We
you
out
so
here.
much. Yeah, we are. We're out here. But you're not originally from out here. For some of them that don't know, you're...
No, that's right. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Born and raised. Very proud to be Canadian. Love it out there. Moved out to San Francisco actually in about 2012, and then down here in LA like 2017, something like that.
Yeah. I love Canada.
It's the best, man.
It's the fucking best, bro.
It really is.
What I love about it the most is the open-mindedness and civil, just cool to be cool characteristics that make a Canadian and a country so fucking sweet.
I agree, man. People really don't try too hard there. They really just kind of be themselves and know how to have a good time and show it. Not super judgmental, and just great people. So
just great people.
Nothing but love.
Yeah.
The shows out there are always just insane vibes. So.
Yeah. Where did you reside when you were over there? Just get a little bit closer on.
Yeah, I live kind of everywhere around Vancouver. I grew up around like King Ed and Granville, and then lived downtown for a while, and then had a studio above the iconic Tom Lee building.
Yeah, boy.
Downtown, that was really dope. And then moved the studio to Gastown. So always lived kind of around East Van or downtown, something like that.
It's a beautiful area. For those of you who don't know where, the roots around Vancouver, there's Granville, there's Robson, there's Gastown. Gastown I've always found really interesting.
Yeah. Gastown, it's the oldest part of Vancouver. I think it's like only 100 years old, which isn't super old in a lot of aspects, but it's beautiful, all brick laid.
Beautiful.
Awesome restaurants, great nightlife, and just a great spot to just walk around, take it all
For
in.
real. What was the name of that club that used to be down there?
The main one on the corner was Shine. Is that the one you're
That's
talking
the
about?
one, yeah. That was the lick.
Yeah, that was super lit. We used to do a weekly in there called Whatever's Dope Wednesday. Shout out to Emotions for throwing that, and that's kind of how we got our start on the electric stuff, the electronic stuff down there.
Producer-wise, so this is a curve, right?
Yeah.
When I think of producers in mostly Vancouver primarily, I think of Bob Rock.
Oh man, absolute legend.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
For real,
Metallica, Black Album,
Motley Crue,
the list goes on. Yes, he deserves to be like a plaque in every Vancouver studio.
1,000%.
I've worked in some of the rooms that he's done stuff in, just the aura in that room. It's been amazing.
Really?
So, yeah, shout out Bob Rock. 100%.
Yeah, shout out Bob Rock. But like the history of Vancouver and its music goes a long way.
Yeah.
Why move?
It was just kind of time to broaden the horizons a little bit. There's so many more people in the States, and I was getting some traction on SoundCloud and some offers kind of stateside, and it's not just as easy as getting the offer and crossing the border and play. You got to get a visa, as you know, and stuff like that. So I actually just had one really terrible border issue where I had my visa in place and everything, and they just kind of broke me down, told me my visa was fake, didn't let me take
it.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. It was actually the first time I was crossing, which is the kind of most dangerous time, and I guess I couldn't explain myself as well. But they made an error on their part, told me my thing was not legit, and kind of sent me packing. So I give my lawyer a call, who wrote the visa for me, Tama's dad, a company in New York, extremely reputable company. So that's why I was kind of baffled. And he's like, bro, I helped write this like law that went in. He is dead wrong. So a few hours later, I had to go back to customs and give them this 40-page document about why they were wrong. And of course, they loved that, you know, and I missed pretty much all of my flights until the last one I could make. And then this lady I hadn't seen all day, obviously the top supervisor. I was in that waiting room for 4 hours, interrogated everything. And she finally just came, okay, you're clear to go, and sent me on my way to make the final flight that I would make to make the set. And so I made it happen and just kind of came back just a little soured from the experience, you know, because I jumped through every fucking hoop they asked me to get this visa, and it's a long process, and for them just to do that to me at the border, you know. And so that's kind of when I decided in my head to make the move and just kind of make it a little simpler on myself.
Yeah, it must have been that feeling of relief and complete and utter anger. Just like,
bro, it was insane, man. They had me like in tears back there.
Yeah,
like,
I do not
crazy.
for a second blame you.
Yeah.
As somebody that has gone through the process of getting the O1 and only recently getting the O1,
Congrats, my dude.
thank you, my brother. It's no mean feat, and you have to, you really have to like hand in majority of your life accomplishments in
for sure.
It takes so much of your effort and like to think that you then get pulled up after all that time.
Totally. And I still don't know why or what kind of caused them to do that. They explained it that like my visa was processed in New York and I was going to San Francisco for a show, and they couldn't put that together, and I was like, you know, just kind of baffled by the whole experience.
But on the whole, your new life in the US with your newfound, you know, projects and accomplishments, it's been well received, right? I mean,
it's been great. It was a bit of a start over, you know what I mean? I had a great following in Canada and you know, obviously still do, but it was actually a really good kind of learning curve for me to like, you know, put me in the city with the beast. At the time, San Francisco was kind of one of the top cities for electronic music. You know, it was really the hub for the beginning of electronic trap and dubstep and a lot of stuff, you know. So it really just kind of put me in the belly of the beast right then, and it was great for me, and I'm really glad I did it. For
those of you that are not to speed with Stylust music, right? The best way to kind of describe it, I mean, you dip your toe into a lot of hip hop.
Yeah, I was always a hip hop guy from day one.
For real, like, and that's one thing that I massively admire about, because you know the EDM bass music, dubstep, you know, umbrella of different genres, they all follow a pattern, and it's often very hard to get extend your arm in ways that makes you unique and individual. I feel like you've done, like, I love the fact that you've done shit with Bass Nectar, but then some of the most, you know, hip hop driven tunes are like, they're rap as fuck. I love that.
Oh yeah. I love a good rapper for sure, and that's kind of just what I started with. And you know, coming into the EDM scene from electronic, I didn't get a lot of love in my home city of Vancouver. We kind of had to throw a lot of our own shows, even just to, you know, get booked and get seen and stuff like that. And you know, in the last 10 years, there's been a big 360 where people are loving hip hop mashed with the EDM stuff, and it's really became accepted. But when I started, it was like way left field, which made me stick out more, which was really a good thing. I'm sure I caught a lot of criticism from some of the deep older heads and stuff like that, but you know, that was my style and I was sticking to it. That's kind of what I knew, you know what I mean? So.
And the snares that you use, they're very, like, we're talking techie detail here, right? But the samples and even the snares, when I hear it, I'm like, no, that comes from a hip hop mentality.
Yeah, man,
that's
for sure.
That's certain frequency. Yeah, for real. You know, you grew up on some Razzcazz. So you grew up 100%. On some Company Flow. This is like,
that's what's up.
Yeah, it's dope. And you're not afraid of like the accent. I mean, you know, you work with British and American. You work with all sorts of artists, don't you?
Shout out Monster Florence, did a remix for them. They're fucking really dope. Love the new Ocean Wisdom stuff.
Crazy Ocean Wisdom stuff.
Amazing. He's probably one of my favorites right now. And I don't, accents or no accents, doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean?
So Frisco had its moment. It had its time in the sun as far as like being the place for incubating the genre.
Mm-hmm.
We're in downtown now, which by anyone's standards is a huge jump
Yeah.
in terms of yeah, that's the gate, by the way. If you're listening and not watching, we're currently by a pool and soaking up some weekend rays, which I'm extremely happy about. The missus is even more happy. Currently parked behind us, killing it. But yeah, this area of the city is synonymous for the bass music scene now.
Yeah.
There's the fashion district and the art district, but without question, you know, from 12th Planet to Skrillex to Jack Beats to AC Slater, like these guys all reside around here now.
Yeah. I feel like everyone kind of puts their time in on 6th and Spring. You know, we have these buildings around here with tons of, you know, well-accomplished DJs. And, of course, 12 Planet's kind of like the grandfather. He's been on this block for 12 years or something like that.
He's
So
OG.
He's seen it really change. I kind of came up when the block was coming up and, you know, is a lot better. But he's been here since day one. So shouts out to 12 Planet.
For real.
John, you the man.
Yeah, and all the guys, you know. It's. Do you think having like those kind of people so in close proximity, do you think that helps your creative? Does it give you a creative advantage, or do you think it can often hinder you in you know putting your expectations in a higher place, and you have to, I don't know, those influences affect things?
I mean that's a tough one. Like I think it's a good thing to have you want to be pushed harder and harder, and that can you know take a toll creatively. But I think what comes out of that is obviously for the greater good, because you got to push yourself to find that top sound of yours. You know what I mean? And if there's the best guys like across the street making music too, you better be making some dope shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The competition, the block is hot.
The block is hot. You know.
The competition's real.
That's right.
What do you use in the box? What's your...
I'm mainly Ableton. I have the Moog Sub 37 analog synth I use a lot, some Electron gear, and just a bunch of soft synths, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah.
I noticed a couple of outboard bits as well, and you've got that fucking... What's the mic called again for the people?
That's the... it's just a blue USB
That's
desktop
blue.
mic. Only $150, but it does wonders, man.
Yeah, it's got the sound card in the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit. I mean,
Yeah,
that is...
so actually just in Ableton, you don't have to turn off your monitors or do anything. You just switch the sound card to the mic as the input and output, put a little headphone into the mic, and you're roaring. So you can really record your little thing and get it out, your quick idea, and just bang it out right there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, what better thing for podcasting or being on the road in
No, that's
hotels?
true.
Do you work on road? You know why?
Yeah, I do. I don't like start a bunch of new ideas on the road. I actually I had this spell where I'd make hip hop beats on all the flights I had that were longer than, 3 or 4 hours, and they were called sky high beats. And I just make a kind of relaxed, chill, dope hip hop beat on all of those flights. So I've been banking those. But otherwise on the road, man, it's just kind of like, you're eating, sleeping, and sitting and watching terrible television.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You kind of, it's like setting up on the tray tables.
Yeah.
And then, just kind of getting it. It's just
Man.
cumbersome.
Even since I got the 15-inch Mac, I can barely work on planes anymore.
Of course.
Just because they don't even open up the full way, and
Yeah.
then someone puts their seat back and almost breaks your screen, and it's just like...
That nearly happened to me like 2 trips ago, bro. I was really nearly ready to kill somebody.
Yeah, totally.
Because it didn't happen, but then afterwards you're thinking to yourself, so he did that, clearly didn't know, probably didn't give a shit, and I would have been left with and you start playing in your head. It's like
It's true.
kills your creative vibe
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. So, yeah, I'm kind of over on the plane. In the hotel, I don't mind if they got a little desk in the hotel. I'll work away and work on the set and stuff like that.
Let's go back to like your influences,
Sure.
because obviously once it's all in the box. I mean, nowadays, especially with the text that's involved, the sample packs that are involved, you can go off on a tangent and find all sorts of things. How important is like the influences that you had and coming up with those sky high style beats? Like in terms of influences, how do you stick to what you know as being the right for you?
That's really tough. Like my early influences were guys like Rage Against the Machine and Guns N' Roses and Tribe Called Quest and Wu-Tang. So I came from a very diverse background, and that's kind of why I named myself Stylust. and it's just because and I started as a recording engineer. That's where we first met, in
That's
the Battle
right.
Axe offices.
That's a whole
Right?
type Battle Axe as well.
Yeah. Shout out Kyle Kraft.
Yeah, Mad Child, Prev.
So I was kind of like just always doing all types of music, and that was just kind of my style. So my influences are so vast that it's hard to pinpoint how they've kind of influenced my sound, but I've found like in the last 5 years I've really found my style. And now when people hear my tracks without seeing a label, anything, they know it's me and stuff like that. And that's really what I'm striving for, is longevity and to find your sound. And for young producers, it doesn't happen right away, but stick with it and it'll come through.
It's interesting you say that, longevity, in a genre that actually, it kind of goes against that. It's very
It does, man.
turnaround, isn't it?
The way I want to do things is release 12 song albums every couple of years and really dig in and do that, but that's just really not the norm. You know what I mean? For our industry, we always have to have tons of new content and stuff like that, which is kind of, from the artistic standpoint, it can be kind of hindering, but in the long run, I think it's great because you always have new content for your shows and your fans, and they eat that shit up. They love it. They don't want one project every couple of years. They want something every month if you can give them something. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah, because now when you come to mention it, your track releases are almost in direct response to your live performances. Like the more live performances you do, you've almost got to respond with having more tunes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like I'm on the Activated tour now, which is my last record, but I've got so many new tunes just in the last 2 months that these are the ones I'm excited to play on the Activated tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the ones that no one's ever heard and stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy, but it's a lot of fun and keeps everyone on their toes. You know what I mean?
The consumer first, isn't it?
Yeah.
The consumer first.
It is. And it's different, though. It's harder to, like, break new tunes. I guess in electronics, it's a little easier because people are really in the moment and, they can feel the song with the pressure, the bass and stuff right away. But, playing a song for the first time is different than playing a song that someone's heard 1,000 times walking their dog, snowboarding, and already love that song, you know what I mean? So breaking it live is really a great way to tell if your song is dope. Actually, you know what I mean? Because that
Road
first
testing.
response is the most initial response you'll ever get. So the first time you play it for a crowd, you know what I mean? Kind of what you need to do with the song or whatever. So I take it as direct feedback.
And also that people love the exclusivity.
Yeah.
They love to know that they're coming to a show and there's
sure.
some new shit.
Yeah. And I usually let them know on the mic, this shit, just finished in the plane or whatever, you know what I mean?
Do you have a hype
just
man?
Just trying to gas it up. I work with a lot of MCs, so it's kind of depends what region I'm in, but not really stateside. But in Canada, I work with Emotions and with MC Dizzy D a lot. So, the bigger festival shows, I like to have an MC with me and a hype man. And for some of the smaller club shows, it just doesn't make a ton of sense.
No, I kind of get that because on one hand, Canada's very different. It's taken a hell of a lot of influence. It's got its own scene, but it's also influenced heavily by the British culture of MCing, drum and bass.
Yeah. We're part of the crown, my brother.
Yeah, you know that, bro. You know that. But like with America, it's not that the MC culture didn't cotton on in dance music. It just wasn't. It just didn't. It doesn't seem necessary for them.
Yeah, and they're really quick to cut it down, man.
Yeah.
Like they're really quick to kind of just talk bad things, about it, which really kind of bums me out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I like the tune, but I didn't like the,
Yeah. Oh, why did this guy ruin the whole entire night? It's
Yeah.
like, bro, you were there. Everyone was hype. Everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
One guy in the back, that was just kind of on his whatever.
Dumb. Yeah.
Has got to speak up. But yeah, it's kind of a trip. Like in Canada, it's definitely, like you said, it's way more kind of, I don't know, accepted to have an MC with you. And I love it personally because I'm a heads down, busy kind of working DJ. I'm not a very vocal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for the, I host and do that sort of stuff too. I like the idea of being the spokesperson. It ain't an ego thing. It's about keeping the audience engaged with what you're doing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And like you say, that there is that section of DJs that don't want to be on the mic. They haven't got time to be
That's
on the
right.
mic.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
tough, isn't it?
They're scared to be on the mic too.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
a lot of guys that'll
Yeah.
barely even get on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's the opposite side of the bass music world where you get the guys that literally jump on a table and
Yeah.
do the Eddie Van Halen on the deck. Do you know what I mean? Like, what?
Most def.
You know?
Yeah,
What's
it's a fine line.
Yeah, there's yeah.
Extremely fine line.
Fine line. But tell me, what are the things in your mind as somebody from that who has come as an import
Mm-hmm.
from another country? What are the traits within your genre that you're like, yeah, man, I kind of, whether it's production or live, that
Mm-hmm.
you could kind of do without, where you'd be like, oh, you know what, if I was to change the shape of like this scene, this is the kind of thing that I would want to eradicate.
Right. That's tough, man.
I'm full of tough questions, me.
Yes, you are. Honestly, I think it would be kind of more on the music side. I love to hear more melody and more hooks rather than a ton of over-processed sounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess growing up, like just listening to, a lot more rock and pop and hip-hop, it was really that vocal hook that would get you, you know what I mean? And that's why I put so many into my sets. So, that's just my style, and it's not the necessary style of EDM, so really we're just talking about my taste.
Well, this is the thing. See, I kind of lean with you. I feel
Yeah.
like if you really want to create longevity, like your sound is suggesting,
Mm-hmm.
it's because you put the efforts in the slow burn of a
Yeah.
song. It's that
And
you
don't
need-
be scared to put a little message into some EDM music, You
Yeah.
don't have to kill the vibe and but tell people, we know you're going through things, keep your head up, we're all
Yeah.
in it together, and that's kind of been a message on a few of my bigger songs
Yeah.
and my new Activated one, where it's just like, it basically talks about kind of when I'm at a show, everyone in the show is kind of like my force field and we're in a bubble together.
Oh, that's sick.
That's kind of like the message behind the song. And so I got my homie Kiprios from Sweatshop Union, also Battle Axe
Hold
alumni.
tight, Sweatshop. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got him to deliver this kind of just poem that just says that. And yeah.
And absolutely nails it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real personal, and
Mhm.
I feel like the melodies and the things that need to be implemented, like you say, that is what will ultimately create the longevity that people kind of need.
Definitely.
I mean, like, radio ain't gonna pick up on things that are just like
Yeah.
tech-tastic.
Well, definitely not over here. We don't have a BBC over here, unfortunately, that people can really, or the wide mainstream audience can get familiar with our music. We really just don't have that over
No.
here.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Sirius XM.
It's a bummer.
Sirius XM, they do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of new to me because I know of the station, but it's subscription only. We
Right.
don't get that in the UK like that.
Yeah.
How do they fare? Like, are those? Is Sirius like a good kind of?
I honestly can't speak on Sirius
Yeah.
too much. I don't listen to a lot of internet or online radio.
Yeah, that's me too. I
Yeah.
find it hard to stay committed
Mm-hmm.
with those stations.
Yeah. I remember Pandora was a big thing for a while.
Yeah,
and,
it's huge.
and stuff like that. But I wasn't really a big fan of, like, you get 5 song skips and you have to listen to certain songs and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And Spotify's really cleaned it up. So I'm a big fan of Spotify's what it's doing with and bringing the podcasts and the comedy and the music together.
For real.
It's great.
For real. I
Yeah.
mean, the podcast game's changing things every. But again, it takes commitment, and some people, particularly in the radio world, like whether you're Rinse or NTS or they're amazing platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But to return to it, it's like, I mean, it's like it's
To
dedication.
feel
isn't it?
limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that?
A little bit,
Because I like the idea of, like, I don't know, a Stylust tune being up against a rudimental.
I'd love that.
You know what I mean? Have a chart and have a thing that every, you know what I mean? It's just a complete embodiment of, like, what people's popular choices are
For
and
sure.
new. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and we're starting to see it sneak into the pop and onto the radio and stuff like that with, Run the Jewels.
Yeah.
Not that they're totally on the radio, but a lot of the bigger kind of pop stuff is leaning into more electronic-driven production, which I think is really smart because we have some of the most, like, talented producers overall, like, technically in the game right now. Like,
Hands down.
you really can't make much of an argument for it. And I've learned so much, like, coming from hip hop production and stuff. It wasn't simple, you know what I mean, but it was in a way, you know what I mean. It was looping something you found on vinyl, stealing Puff Daddy's kicks, and you know what I mean, and making something great, which is great, and there's a place for that. but like in the electronic scene, it's just dives so much deeper into this kind of tech wizardry side of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I'd like to see hit the mainstream a little better. I think they're almost ready for it.
I think
They're
are.
getting.
Yeah, no,
We're greasing them up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Lube away.
Yeah.
In terms of like being around here and this, you know, listen, I don't expect you guys for a second to know the background, but just going into Stylust's studio, he's a cottage industry. He's downtown in the fashion district. He's got his whole thing in-house, killing it, from studio to wholesale. It's all in your apartment.
That's right.
It's fucking incredible. And
Bless.
yeah, I just want to kind of circle around that because we were actually talking about it before we went live. So,
Uh-huh.
so in terms of like how you operate, because this is, like I say, you've got everything going on. Like, was that something you always anticipated, to be able to create a core audience that would self-serve your
Yeah, that's
industry?
kind of always my long time vision. I remember hearing a talk. I wish I could remember who it was, but it was speaking on the term of super fans, and just creating like a very strong core community is more important for longevity for an artist than having, you know, millions of fans for one or two songs kind of thing. And so we really we built a family around Sleeveless, my record label, and we got the Sleeveless Warriors group, and everyone's super active in it. Everyone's chatting and trading gear and just having a good time, and it's just cool to kind of create a community that crosses over into so many different cities. When we play different cities, they post in the message board and they meet up beforehand, and whatever, people have met their girlfriends, their wives, you know, through it. And
That's
I
amazing.
I just love that. That's what I'm in it for, you know what I mean? I'm a people person, and I work with people that I fuck with, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm not fucking with you personally, you're not fucking with my label or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Because you got to make sure that
Yeah.
they're coming in at the right balance and they've got
representing the
people's-
squad well and
Right.
stuff like that. You know, that's super important to me. So, yeah, it's just always been, and I love doing the merch stuff. That's always been like a great creative outlet of mine. And so, yeah, it's just been a lot of fun kind of creating the compound from the studio to the merch, and having my wife Courtney run all the groups and
hold
stuff
tight,
like
Courtney.
that.
Hold tight.
Bless.
For real, like when I see there's actually a print machine.
You know,
They're
we do.
printing them things that I don't know whether I should be telling these people the secrets behind the curtain, but for real, bro, like that's super impressive. They got like a whole turnaround machine.
Yeah, that's blood, sweat, and tears. We do everything ourselves for these guys. You know,
Yeah.
for, you know.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the bass music scene. As I was saying earlier, I'm good friends with my boy Conrank.
Shouts.
Yeah, and you know, a very similar collective of fans and supporters that are just so vocal and so on side.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said with the bass music scene over here.
It's true, man. The community is quite amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I only can kind of compare it to the hip hop community, but that, to me, it was really tough to work around. You know what I mean? Dealing with a lot of lies, a lot of bullshit, a lot of ego, a lot of craziness. This scene is a little bit more down to earth to me.
Kind of reminds me of like the drum and bass scene.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? How it was in that kind of it's almost like I remember there being a university scene in drum and bass, and you'd start seeing the same people at the clubs, and you're like, yo, it suddenly becomes a community. It's like, yeah, this is the shit, because
Definitely.
you almost meet up with people.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's great. That's what San Francisco was like back in the day. We'd go out, man, 5 nights a week, and we'd see the same people every night, go to the same 3 clubs. It was just such a scene and such a vibe. You know what I mean? It wasn't a question of whether you're going out, it's where and when, and, you know, with who. It was crazy when we first moved here. It was great.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit now with kind of the tech takeover and stuff like that, and kind of spread us out a bit, but it was really kind of a golden era for our time now that I look back on it. It's only been, 6 or 7 years, but it's starting to look back on it, and just the community we had all in such a tight area, and now they're spread around the world doing insane things. So it's just amazing to see.
That's the other thing as well, right? When you get these smaller scenes, I was with my mate Chris, MCXYZ, hold tight, Chris. He does Cobalt now, and
Wow.
But I remember, like, and it doesn't have to be that long ago. I mean, we're talking a shy of like maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
And he used to jump up and MC.
That's great.
It's crazy how like these people that are forces to be reckoned with within a small scene. They have the fight in the dog to go on to some amazing accomplishments.
It's insane. Yeah.
You know?
It makes you look back at it and kind of be like, wow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just like, wow, how did you second guessed a person, or, you saw their early works or whatever, and just to see that growth is super inspiring for people.
Second guess. Oh, that's an interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Like I remember when we worked in the studio.
Yeah.
To think now that what 20 a lot of years later.
It wasn't that long, maybe 10, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Well, yeah, actually, maybe 13,
Yeah.
give or take.
I remember that was a big session for me. I was a big fan, and you were all top of the game, like number one back then. That was ill.
Yeah, bro, hold
Very
tight.
respectable
hold tight.
session.
Yeah.
How did that session go? Do you remember whatever happened with whatever we recorded? I can't remember.
I remember, fuck, man. You know what? A bunch of those tunes that we did, one of them went on a mix. It's mixed by my collective at the time, Spit Kingdom.
Okay.
It was Days That Shook the World. Oh, shit, in fact, I probably got a copy.
Really?
I'll send
Need
it
that.
to you. Yeah, dude, need that.
Wall of Fame, B.
Yeah, exactly. Those days. You got to play it respectable when you're doing guest stuff, haven't you? It's a real fine line. What's it like for you when working with like a new guy? I mean, I know you said you keep your team tight, but
Yeah.
what's your expectations?
I mean, it's tough. I don't know. Sometimes I'll have to audition 3 or 4 people for one tune. You know what I mean? And then pick the best thing moving forward. And I'm working a little bit backwards, where I hear something dope that an artist used for maybe something else. And, hey, this little part, can I grab the acapella for that, use it for mine? Or, hey, this is the vibe I want to kind of, grab from your project or whatever, and stuff like that.
And they become the feature based off of that. That's
of
fucking
course,
great.
like this new guy, G. Yamazawa, that I'm working with from Durham. He lives down in LA now. Amazing. Started off as a slam poet, amazing lyricist, and been crushing the rap game lately. And basically, I've been taking his acapellas and reworking them into my own stuff.
Sick.
And that's like bringing his name into my audience fan base. And then when I go tour North Carolina, people are like, what? You got a tune with G? He's a fucking legend out here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's that cosign almost of you being in tune with what's going on over there.
yeah, totally. In North Carolina, of all places. So, it's kind of been a reverse engineering process as of late. But, I worked with some amazing vocalists, too. So, it just kind of, it's all over the map, man. There's no formula anymore, you know what I mean?
No, that's right.
Like, the G. Yamazawa I found, I was playing online video games with my homie in Winnipeg, Canada, and he had this tune in the background, and it was just this pitch down vocal thing that was just the intro to his tune, and I ended up flipping that into a whole song, just the
That's
intro.
amazing. Wow.
You know what I mean? And I heard it through some stupid headphone, through like a video game mic from another country.
What?
You know what I mean? So
Dude, that's mad. From
and that's
the
how
airwaves.
I found G. And now,
That's
now we're
insane.
working together, so it's pretty sick. It's really random.
Very
where
serendipity, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
How the fuck? And you know what? The more I get enveloped in like day to day, the walls. They're a bit like the junkyard in Star Wars, where the walls start closing in. That becomes my fucking time and doing shit. You know what I mean?
For real.
But the closer you get to those walls, the more tighter you go through the intricacies. And it could just be an email you send off. It could be a second thought, quick look on a post, and hit a heart button.
Right.
All these little things, they all have. It's the butterfly effect.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, this crazy thing will happen just because you did the most unthinkable thing.
It's true.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's all baby steps, and I think about that all the time. As like no one's gonna tell me what to do tomorrow, or how to do it, or when to do it, or whatever. So it's like, if you just make these little baby steps in your mind, and you're right. Usually it's a small email that triggers this kind of thing that happens or whatever, and you just do these little small things every day, and then all of a sudden it accumulates to something you can hold in your hand. You know what I mean? Which is important for people in the music industry, and that's really what separates the people that make it and the ones that don't these days, is the people that are willing to put in their time and reach out to people and be humble and have questions and just reach out very honestly, and I think a lot of artists really are well received to those kind of messages.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
1,000%. Honesty. if you develop as an artist in a certain way and you embody those characteristics that people have expectations of you on, like you might have a bit of an ego, you might be a bit of a diva, you might be a bit of this. It's quite hard to go back from that.
Right.
And I think people's perceptions of you've really got to dig deep and be honest and be that person that's like
Totally.
super
Especially
level.
these days, everything's so translucent. You know, you can't fake the funk because someone will call you out on it on social media when you're acting the exact opposite way than what you said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're gonna, stunt,
Yeah.
better make sure it's real because people are. This is the cancel culture out here. They're quick to jump down your throats. So
They're on you, man. Yeah. I mean, these shows are interesting. I mean, you were talking about, Carolina and, connecting with that audience.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast world is very much the same. People formulate opinions of you based on like them discovering me through you, or whichever way it comes about. Yeah, you just got to step very neutral, very humble, and just do what we do, isn't it?
I think it's more humble than neutral these days. I think kind of these days you got to have a voice, you got to have a stand, you got to show what you believe in a little bit. And I'm definitely not the least political guy on Facebook, and I don't do a bunch of trigger posts or anything like that. Yeah. But you do have to kind of show your opinion and your stance.
Yeah.
That's how people connect with you these days.
Your mission brief.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Just a wee brief.
Yeah. What's your mission brief? And purely creative. I'm understanding. What's your mission brief?
So I've always kind of had a slogan for Stylust and Sleeveless Records. And it was just something I said as a kid, like when we'd be skateboarding or we'd be too nervous to go talk to a girl at a party or whatever. And it's basically just rip your fucking sleeves off. And what that kind of means, and I think it has something to do with Canada and people not having a ton of inhibitions, you know what I mean? It's just like, just fucking do it. Rip your sleeves off, fucking tackle it 100%. Live in the moment. What have you got to lose? Like, yeah, you might fall, you might get a board to your shin, or you know what I mean, but you also might land it and it might make your whole day. You know what I mean? Or you might get the girl's number and that becomes your wife, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's kind of like a Nike just do it, but in my own fashion. And me and my buddy have a war with who came up with the saying. I think he did and he thinks I did, but that's kind of what it is. Rip your sleeves off.
No, you're the one sitting there, buddy.
And people take it hella literal. I've had my shit literally ripped off during, like, while I'm on stage, and people cut their sleeves and they give me shit for releasing merch with sleeves on it, but it's not a literal
That's the intention,
thing.
right?
You know what I mean?
You need to get some Velcro around the top there.
Yeah, we've been trying to work out how to do it perfectly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's so
Pull
sick.
off those the breakaway gear.
yeah. Like Hulkamania t-shirts
That's
or
right.
some shit. That's one hell of a mission brief, and it's one that promotes lifestyle and positive reaction. Yeah. But in short, making your music the soundtrack to their energy. That shit's cool as fuck.
That is cool as fuck.
You know what I mean?
Especially the way you said it.
Yeah, dude.
For
That's
real.
the commercial right there, Kels, yeah?
Bang, bang.
So what's the head? What's future? What's going on for this year?
Right now we're just touring the Activated album. So that's going to go into May, I believe. And off to Costa Rica tonight.
Yeah.
Stoked for that. And Vision Festival, we're coming for you.
Hell yeah.
So that's kind of next on the agenda. And then we're doing Pacific Northwest. We got Portland, Seattle, Vancouver run the day I land. So
Damn.
I'll be fresh off the boat for that one.
Yeah.
And
Busted, I would imagine. For like,
I'm going to try and find some relaxation the last few days.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find it. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's kind of what's it. A bunch of new music on the way. And yeah, just looking forward to more of the same and going out, meeting and seeing the people.
well, I've got to say, man, for all your busy times you've got ahead, I really appreciate you passing through on the podcast, bro.
Anytime, my brother.
guy.
Thank you so much for having me.
My guy.
It was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bless
Ladies
up.
and gentlemen, the Don, at the moment, first one in downtown Los Angeles, on the rooftop, Killa Kela Podcast, the mighty Stylust.
Shout out, Killa Kela Podcast. Bless.
Yeah.
Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe, man. Big shout out to Graffiti Kings, all right? Stay lucky, people. Peace.